Hi everyone, welcome to Vinyasa Flow. My name is Michelle Chua. For this practice, grab 2 blocks and a strap. And if you'd like a pillow or a blanket to sit on, you might just set that aside. And for now, place your strap off to the side near the rear of your mat. And let's start in Supta Baddha Konasana. That's where you bring the soles of your feet together, drop the knees apart. If you're finding that the knees are uncomfortably lifting away from the floor, grab your 2 blocks and use them as bookends underneath your outer thighs and adjust the height of the blocks where you can feel fully supported to relax into this posture. And then lying down on your back, let the shoulders roll into the ground and away from the neck, either turning your palms to face up by your sides like you would in Shavasana perhaps, or rest a hand on your heart, a hand on your lower belly. And allow a moment here to arrive in your practice, mentally and physically. Settling the body into stillness, allowing the body to breathe just naturally as you pay attention to the quality of the breath. So here is an excerpt from the book that I'm almost finished reading called Radical Acceptance: Embracing Your Life with the Heart of a Buddha by mindfulness teacher Tara Brach, PhD. She actually quotes an author, Rilke, and says, "You nights of anguish, why didn't I kneel more deeply to accept you? Inconsolable sisters, and surrendering, lose myself in your loosened hair. How we squander our hours of pain, how we gaze beyond them into the bitter duration to see if they have an end, though they are really seasons of us, our winter." So this addresses the trance of fear, as Tara Brach talks about. And we talked about in the kleshas before, one of the root causes of suffering, according to yoga philosophy, is the fear of death. But I love how she translates the fear of death going on. If we are waiting only for our fear to end, we will not discover the pure and loving presence that unfolds as we surrender into the darkest of nights. Only by letting go into the stream of life and loss and death do we come into this freedom. Facing fear is a lifelong training in letting go of all we cling to. It is a training in how to die. We practice as we face our many daily fears: anxiety about performing well, insecurity around certain people, worries about our children, about our finances, about letting down people we love. Our capacity to meet the ongoing losses in life with radical acceptance grows with practice. In time, we find that we can indeed handle fear, including that deepest fear of losing life itself. Our willingness to face our fear frees us from trance and bestows on us the blessings of awareness. We let go of deeper and subtler layers of resistance until there is nothing left to resist at all. There is only awake and open awareness. This is the refuge that has room for both living and dying. In this radiant and changeless awareness, we can, as Rilke puts it, contain death, the whole of death, can hold it in one's heart gentle, and not refuse to go on living. Radical acceptance of fear carries us to the source of all freedom, to the ultimate refuge that is our true home. So allow a moment to digest that and notice what may resonate with you. I love how she points out that when we can lean into fear, including the fear of death in all its forms, death as loss, then we can allow ourselves the freedom to truly live. Allow another deep breath, filling up your heart space, then the 4 walls of your rib cage. Open the mouth, exhale. Again, even slower, inhaling through your nose, feeling the lungs, filling up the belly, gently without strain. Slowly let it go. Begin to even the breath and sustain it, both in and out, closing the lips, softly narrow or constrict the back of the throat, inviting a gentle whisper, practicing Ujjayi pranayama or victorious breathing. If you have blocks holding the outsides of your thighs, go ahead and slide them out to the sides. Bring your hands to your outer thighs and draw your knees bent towards your chest. Taking a moment to hug in the knees, you might gently rock side to side. You might circle the legs. Just any movement here, a few breaths. Then step your left foot on the ground and take the strap, stepping the ball of your right foot into the loop or center of a long strap. Bring your right arm to the inside of your right thigh, holding the strap with your right hand. Place your left hand on the top of your left thigh, just to make sure the back of your left hip stays on the ground as you splay open your right thigh towards the outside of your right shoulder. Imagine that your right leg is in happy baby pose. Now you can keep the left knee bent, or if it feels fine to straighten the leg, you can extend it forward. Keep your shoulders on the ground here and let's allow a few more breaths. Drawing the right knee towards the earth, outside of your right shoulder, sole of your right foot facing the sky. And one more deep breath here. Go ahead and remove the strap and step your right foot on the ground, switching it over to the ball of your left foot. Bring your left arm to the inside of your left thigh, holding the strap with the left hand. Press your right palm onto the top of your right thigh, grounding the back of your right hip. Splay open your left bent knee so that the sole of your left foot is facing up towards the sky. And then breathing here, notice if it's available for you to straighten the right leg without strain. Shoulders relaxing on the ground, both hips rooted. And listening to your breath. Then remove the strap and bend your knees to hover right above your hips so that your shins are parallel to the floor. Point your toes here. Legs are about hips width apart. And now let the belly firm in towards your back. Bring your fingertips behind your head so you're bending the elbows apart. Now, keeping the natural space between your chin and chest, lift your head and shoulders off the ground. Keep them lifted. And now from here, slightly tuck the tailbone towards the sky. As you inhale, tap the right toes on the ground. Keep the same shape of the right leg. So you're not straightening the right leg. You're keeping the same amount of bend in the knee. And you're just moving the thigh. As you exhale, lift the right knee, bring it back to where it was. Inhale, tap the left toes on the ground. Go slow. So we're trying not to tilt the pelvis forward. We're trying to keep the tailbone slightly pointing up. And exhale, bring the left leg back. Inhale, tap the right toes. Keep the belly engaged there. You should feel the abdomen working. And inhale, tap the left toes. Exhale, return. 2 more on each side. Follow your breath. Inhale to tap, alternating legs, and exhale to return. So notice here, trying to keep the pelvis still. We don't want the pelvis to tilt forward and back as you're moving the legs. To keep it still, you're engaging the abdomen. Nice. And then from here, draw your knees again towards your chest. Then step your feet on the ground. Bring the arms down by your sides. Feet are parallel, hips width apart. Have your heels where you could almost touch them with your fingertips, but not quite. And then inhale, tilt the tailbone up, lift your pelvis, stretch the tailbone forward as you keep your thighs parallel, grounding your shoulders. Find whatever height of bridge pose is comfortable. Doesn't have to be your maximum. And as you exhale, slowly lower, as if one vertebra at a time, from your upper back to your tailbone rest. And then draw your bent knees towards your shoulders wide. Bring the inner edges of your feet together to touch. Lift the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling as if the ceiling were the ground and you're stepping on the ground. Splay the knees to the outsides of your shoulders and bring both arms inside of the legs. Now, as you straighten your arms towards the ceiling, flex your hands at the wrists so the palms are face up, like you're in crow pose, lying on your back. See if you can bring the knees even higher towards your triceps, your outer upper arms, by tilting the tailbone slightly up and contracting the belly. Now keep the feet facing the sky. Inhale here, and exhale, lift the head and shoulders. And now let's hold supine kakasana. Supine crow pose. Breathe in, stay, exhale 3. Inhale, exhale 2. Belly's contracting here. 1 more breath. And exhale, draw your knees to your chest and rock forward and back a few times. Making your way forward into tabletop, hands and knees. Prepare to begin a few rounds of cat-cow. As you inhale, lift your chest forward and up, roll the shoulders back and down. Now, as you exhale, tuck your toes, keep your knees on the floor, round your back and hold here in cat pose 2 more breaths. Stay here, inhale, keep lifting the navel, exhale 2. Inhale, pressing the palms into the floor, spreading the shoulder blades apart, exhale 1. And then again, inhale, untuck the toes, lift the chest, look up, cow pose. Exhale, tuck the toes, scoop the belly in, stay here, and allow 2 more deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, protracting the shoulder blades. Inhale, exhale, lifting the navel. And just like that, try 2 more rounds of sustained cat pose, taking it through the full round of Vinyasa, cat-cow. And then take another cow pose, lifting the chest, tuck your toes, exhale into downward facing dog. Allow a few breaths here to move your body in your own way. Pedaling the feet in place, swiveling the hips left and right, maybe shaking out the head. Now imagine you're walking on a tightrope here. Keep your legs as straight as you can so you're not bending the knees. Think of plugging the right thigh bone up into the hip socket as you lift the right foot off the floor and step it forward down the midline of the mat. Plug the left thigh bone into the socket without bending the knee. If you can, step the left foot in front of the right toes like you're walking on a tightrope. Inhale, lift the right leg, plug it into the hip socket, and step it forward. So just like that, you're using those core muscles to walk to the top of your mat. And once you arrive there, have your feet hips distance in a forward fold. Press your fingertips into the ground or on blocks. Inhale, lift your chest forward. Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Exhale, bow in, Uttanasana. Inhale, circle your arms to rise up, bringing your hands in prayer. Join them at your heart and close your eyes to allow a moment to set your intention for your practice. And to choose someone or something to perhaps dedicate your practice to. And let's chant 3 ohms together. Inhale deeply. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Let's begin Surya Namaskar A, 3 rounds to the breath. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, watch your palms touch. Exhale, bow forward. Press the ground, blocks or your legs. Inhale, raise the heart forward. Walk to plank pose. Exhale, glide forward through Chaturanga Dandasana. Come all the way down on the first one. Inhale, Cobra pose, lifting the chest. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Let your body be still as you land your eyes on one spot. 3 breaths. On the 3rd breath, bend your knees and look forward. After you exhale, walk or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle your arms and rise up. Exhale, Padasana at the heart. Twice more. Inhale, sweep your arms, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana, step to plank, or float lightly into Chaturanga Dandasana. This time move into Cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pause for 3 deep breaths. After your 3rd exhale, walk or lightly float to the front of your mat. Last round, inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale to your heart. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen forward. Walk or lightly jump back. Cobra or upward dog. Let's meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you and rotate the thigh open. Bend the knee. Stay here a few breaths or flip it over into tripod, back bend, or wild thing. If you're flipping it over, draw the left shoulder blade down your back and lift your pelvis high, dropping the head back. Couple more breaths. Come back to 3-legged downward facing dog, turning the right outer hip to face the ground. Inhale, straighten your right leg back. As you exhale, tap your right knee outside of your right upper arm in plank pose. Step your right foot directly between your hands, enter Warrior 2, dropping the back heel, cartwheel your arms apart, and align right heel to arch a back foot. Right away with arms open, steady your gaze just past your right hand. Bend the front knee, maybe towards a right angle. Wrap your right outer hip under your body and open the knee towards the pinky toe. Press the outer left foot into the ground and firm the top of your left thigh bone back. A few more breaths. Triangle pose, straighten your right leg, sweep your hips towards the back wall, reach your right hand towards the front wall, and place that hand on the right side of your right shin. Use a block if that allows you to give the right side of your torso more space. Keep wrapping the right outer hip under. Press the crease of your right hip back towards your outer left foot. And maybe look up towards the left thumb if that feels okay on your neck. Few more breaths. Trikonasana. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Look at the ground ahead of your right foot. Walk your right hand about 6 inches forward of it to the right. Flex your left foot off the floor and turn your chest to face the left wall again, just like triangle pose. Tack the crease of your right hip back towards your lifted foot and lengthen the right side of your torso. On an exhale, slowly step back to Warrior Two. Take a deep breath in Warrior Two. And exhale to the ground, optional Vinyasa, or go straight to downward facing dog. Allow a couple of breaths in downward facing dog. Slow and steady breaths. Then inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Rotate the left thigh open and bend your left knee towards the sky. Stay here a few breaths or flip it over into Wild Thing. Drawing the right shoulder blade down your back and lifting your pelvis as you drop the head back. Come back to three-legged downward facing dog. And inhale, straighten your left leg back, turning the left hip down. Exhale, tap your left knee outside your left outer upper arm. Come forward to plank and step your left foot between your hands, spin the right heel down. Inhale, rise up to Warrior Two. Heel to arch. Bend the front knee right over the heel, maybe towards a right angle. Wrap your left outer hip under. Firm the top of your right thigh bone back and set your eyes on one spot past the left hand. Trikonasana, straighten your left leg, sweep your hips towards the back wall, reach your left hand way forward and then place it along the left side of your left shin. Use a block if that gives you more space in the left side of your torso. Tack the crease of the left hip back, rotate your chest slightly to face the sky, and then land your eyes on one spot. A few more breaths. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Gaze at the ground ahead of your left foot. Crawl your left hand about 6 inches forward of that foot to the left and flex your right foot off the ground. Just like triangle pose, chest is facing the right wall. You might be gazing up down or forward. How's your breathing? On your next exhale, softly step back to warrior two. And when you land, allow a deep breath in before you exhale to plank, and maybe take a vinyasa if you like. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Step up to the outsides of your hands and find a squat malasana. Turn out both thighs at the hips. Sit on blocks or hover your pelvis off the ground and splay your inner thighs apart with your elbows. Join your hands in prayer and lift your spine tall. Relax the shoulders back and down. Listen to your breath here. Press down to your feet. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, rise up to stand and bring the inner edges of your feet together to touch. Let's start Surya Namaskar B, Sun Salutation B, right with the breath. Inhale, bend your knees together, sit back towards your heels, arms up, chair pose. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen forward. Walk to plank or lightly jump into chaturanga. Take it through your vinyasa. At downward facing dog, inhale, step the right foot beside the right thumb, spin the back heel down and rise up. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. At downward dog, inhale, step the left foot forward, spin the back heel down, rise up. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. At downward dog, 3 deep breaths. After your third exhale, walk or float to the top of your mat. With feet touching, inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees to touch. Inhale, sit low in chair pose. Exhale, rise up, hands together at the heart. Once more, Surya Namaskar B. Inhale, sit low, Utkatasana. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Take it through your vinyasa here. When you arrive at downward dog, follow your breath pace. Step the right foot forward, spin the back heel down. Inhale, rise to warrior one. Ride the exhale into your vinyasa and keep going to side 2 at your own pace. At downward dog, pause for 3 slow breaths. Slow your breath down. Then bend your knees, look forward. Empty the breath and walk or jump to the top. Feet together, inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Knees together, inhale, sit low in chair pose. And then right here, join your hands at your heart. Stay in chair, but lift your heels off the ground. Squeeze the ankles towards each other, the knees towards each other. Keep lifting your heels, but sink your hips lower. Keep lifting your heels from the belly in, sink the hips lower and lower until you can place your fingertips either on blocks or the floor in front of your feet and splay your thighs apart. Keep the feet together, and as you sink your hips back towards your feet, crawl your arms forward like child's pose. Now, option to stay here, or let's prepare for Kakasana, crane pose. Placing your hands flat on the floor, shoulders width apart, index fingers pointing forward or turned out. Hands are about a foot in front of your feet. Keep the feet together, the knees apart, and hollow your belly, lift your hips high. Bring your knees to the outsides of your upper arms. Then look ahead of your fingertips, at least 2 feet ahead on the ground, and pull your weight forward through your gaze. Breathe. If you're able to lift your feet, bring them together. Scoop the belly in. Feel the contraction of the abdomen lifting your pelvis, creating a buoyancy there. Feel the shoulder blades spread like you did in cat pose. Kakasana. Now, crow or bakasana is when you straighten the arms. So maybe work on straightening the arms. And then we'll meet in Uttanasana, standing forward fold with feet hips distance apart, parallel. And when you arrive in Uttanasana, lift your toes and slip your palms face up under the soles of your feet for Padahastasana. So bend your knees if that helps you to really get the toes to meet the inner creases of your wrists, because we're giving the outer wrists a stretch here. Shift your weight as far forward as you can balance, and inhale, lift your heart through the gates of your arms, sending your shoulders back, get long through your spine, and exhale, fold from your hips, bending the elbows apart. Let's try that once more. Inhale, rise forward, stretching the spine, keep your weight forward, exhale, bow, and by splaying the elbows apart, lift your shoulders away from your neck and let your head go. Maybe shake it out, a few breaths. And then from here, let's meet in downward facing dog, optional to flow through a vinyasa. Downward facing dog, inhale, raise your right leg up. Exhale, step the foot behind your right wrist and spin your left heel down. Bring your hands to your hips. Actually, while you're down here, place your blocks to frame your right ankle. Then bring your hands to your hips, little bend in the knees, firm in the belly, slowly rise up. So adjust your stance. You don't want it to be too wide. Basically, the feet are apart, maybe 2/3 as far apart as you had them in Warrior One, because we're gonna keep the legs straight and both hips facing forward, pressing both heels into the ground. Now bring your arms behind you. Either press fist to fist or come into reverse prayer. Roll your shoulders back. Inhale, look up. Firming in the belly. Exhale, start to hinge from your hips. Notice if the left hip starts to lag and move behind you. Bring the left hip forward and tack the right hip back. Center your spine along the midline of the mat. 3 more breaths in pyramid pose. Parsvattanasana. Firming in the belly, root down through both feet and inhale, lift your spine parallel to the floor. Place your left hand down on either block. The left one is a good place to start, or on the floor if that's fine for you. The right side of the foot takes it a little further as we twist. Use your right thumb and tack your right outer hip back. Re-square your hips forward and stretch your spine down the middle of your mat. Breathe in. Keep the feet plugged down as you exhale, twist to the right and raise the right arm. A few breaths. Harita Trikonasana, revolved triangle pose. Look at your right foot and make your way back to downward facing dog. For the sake of time, let's skip the vinyasa here. Inhale, raise the left leg back. Exhale, step the left foot behind your left wrist. So you might already know how to space your feet about 2/3 as wide apart as they were in Warrior One. Bring your hands to your hips, micro bend the left knee, and inhale, rise up. Then bring your arms behind your back, either fist to fist or reverse prayer. Draw the belly in and inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, begin to hinge forward from your hips for a few breaths. Then notice if your right hip lags behind the left hip. Bring the right hip forward and tack the left hip back. Keep your hips evenly facing forward. Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Rooting down through both feet and firming in the belly. Inhale, lift your spine parallel to the floor. Lower the right hand on the right side of the foot, maybe on a block, good place to start, or on the left side of the foot, goes a little deeper. Use the left thumb and press your outer left hip back, re-level your hips squared, and inhale, stretch your spine forward. Exhale, turn your chest to the left and raise your left arm. Revolved triangle pose. Parita Trikonasana. Then lower both hands here and please step onto hands and knees, all fours. We're gonna prepare our shoulders for our last inversions and our back bends. So take your 2 blocks and place them at their medium height, the second level, across your mat about, well, you'll adjust your knees in a moment. Extend your arms forward, palms face down to start, and rotate your triceps or outer upper arms towards the ground to spread your shoulder blades apart and move them down your back. Then place your bent elbows exactly your shoulders width apart on the blocks. Keep rolling the triceps down and press your fingertips against each other like you're holding a sphere between your palms. Now step the knees back, hips distance apart, a couple inches behind your hips. Trace your thumbs down the back of your head, down the back of your neck, as far back as they'll go, while you lower your head to your capacity. Sinking your chest, lift the belly up towards the back and draw your sitting bones back. Now be careful that the elbows don't splay apart wider than shoulders width. If they do, come on up and adjust your elbows. Take another 5 deep breaths here, stretching the triceps and lats. And then lift through the belly, come on up, put the blocks aside, and let's prepare for one of 2 inversions. We'll begin with dolphin pose. So again, extend your arms forward, wrap the triceps down, spread the shoulder blades apart, and move them down the back. Then interlace your fingers and place your elbows, shoulders distance apart on the floor, root down to your outer wrists, elbows and forearms, and tuck your toes. Either let your head just hang loose or look forward of the knuckles of the hands. Draw the shoulders back away from the ears, and as you lift the hips, press your chest back towards your shins. You don't want the shoulders to hover forward of your elbows here. You want the shoulders to be slightly behind the elbows. Use your forearms to press the floor away and lift the shoulders away from your neck. Now, if there's space to, you might walk the feet forward closer to your elbows. You might bring the feet together to touch. You might lift one leg straight up, keeping your hips squared so that you're not turning out the leg.
And we'll do this one more time, or you might go into headstand the second round. So you can decide if you want to lift the second leg up now or save it for the next round. And when you're done, we'll meet in child's pose, resting the arms down by your legs for about 3 or so breaths. All right, gently roll yourself up and let's prepare for the last inversion.
Now you can practice the same way, dolphin pose, or like I mentioned last class, it's good to start to build a foundation of headstand if it's new to you, as long as you don't have any neck issues. So if you're free from neck issues, let's build the foundation and then you can add on to it as you feel ready. So same setup as dolphin with arms. Shoulders, broaden the shoulder blades, interlace the fingers, root the elbows, shoulders width apart. Now have a little opening in your palms here so they're not closed up. They're open so that the back of your skull is going to be lightly supported. There's some space there. Bring the crown of your head
to the floor. Now, tuck your toes and lift your hips up. Now you can keep your feet on the floor here. So here's where you start to set up the foundation for Salamba Shirshasana, supported headstand. If your hamstrings are resistant, you can bend your knees or you can step your feet onto blocks. But use your forearms, just like you used in dolphin pose, to push the floor away so that the weight on your head is light. You're not pressing the head down firmly. In fact, you're gently even pushing off the floor with the top of your head as well as with your forearms. Now you might keep the hips squared, feet together, then lift one leg straight up, flexing the lifted foot and making sure that leg is solidly straight. Activate the belly. Try to keep the hips from turning out. Hug them towards the midline. And then you can place that foot down and then raise the opposite leg. Make sure that you continue to press the floor away with your forearms so you're not putting that much pressure on your head. Now, some of you might use the lifted leg, and as you straighten it so much, you can crank up. Lift the bottom foot. Maybe place it down, maybe lift it up, and bring the feet together. Flex the feet towards the sky and stretch the tailbone up towards the inner heels. Making sure to hug in the belly, hug in the front ribs, so there's not a big sway in the lower back called a banana back. Tailbone is not sticking behind you, it's lifting upwards. And allow a few more breaths. When you're ready to, come down gently and we'll meet in child's pose again. Letting the arms rest down by your thighs. Headstand is called in Hatha Yoga the king asana, the king of asanas. It's energizing, activates the sympathetic nervous system, which uplifts energy, stimulates circulation, resets the nervous system, as well as promotes digestion and focus. Now let's slowly roll up to sit. Bring the feet in front of you, pelvis at the center of your mat, and we'll prepare for our last few back bends. As we set up for bridge pose, you might opt to hug the skinny width of a block between your knees. Separate your feet hips width apart, parallel. Lie down on your back and bring the arms by your sides. Place your heels where you could almost reach them with your fingertips, but not that close. Ground your shoulders, tilt your chin back, and lifting your hips, stretch your thighs forward. Walk the upper arms under your back ribs, maybe interlace your fingers. Count about 5 to 8 breaths before you lower slowly on an exhale. As you're here, activate your hamstrings by keeping your feet still, but energetically dragging the heels towards your glutes. Counterbalance that with stretching your tailbone forward towards the space between your knees. Then rotate your inner thighs towards the floor slightly without pigeon toeing your feet. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. And when you're ready to, rest for 3 breaths, keeping your feet on the floor. We've got 2 more back bends. You could opt for bridge pose again. You tone it down and put a block under your sacrum and rest on the block for supported bridge, or add some fire and follow me into upward facing bow, in which you raise the arms, spiral the triceps forward, and bend the elbows, planting the palms face down alongside your ears. Just like the legs parallel, keep the elbows from splaying apart wider than your shoulders distance. Lift your hips, activate the hamstrings, and stretch your tailbone forward. Inner thighs spiral slightly towards the ground. Bring the crown of your head to the floor. Maybe walk the hands a little bit apart and wrap the triceps down. Press off your hands, lifting the head, and breathe. 5 to 8 breaths in Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow. When you're ready to come down, place the top of your head on the floor, then tuck your chin towards your chest, then lower 1 vertebra at a time. Pause for 3 breaths, keep your feet on the floor, and decide on your last back bend of choice. Any of those that we practice, or one that you practice on your own. 5 to 8 breaths. Take it when you're ready. Now this time, when you come down onto your back, gently drop your knees side to side, windshield wiper your shins a few times. Then turn over to one side and press yourself up to sit. Let's prepare for a seated spinal twist. Extend your left leg forward and step your right foot on the floor, either right in front of your right hip or crossed outside of your left knee. There you might also bend your left knee. Place your right hand behind your pelvis and raise your left arm. Root down through your sitting bones. Inhale, lift up your spine. Exhale, twist to your right and lower your left hand to hold your shin or hook the elbow outside of the thigh. Give it another 5 breaths here. Keep twisting. And when you exhale to unwind, turn out your right thigh and cross your right leg on top of your left leg, either sitting cross-legged or stacking your ankles and knees with your feet flexed in double pigeon. Root your sitting bones and lengthen your spine. Then start to hinge forward from your hips for a few breaths. Then inhale, slowly rise up. Extend your right leg forward, and let's set up the same way if you can for the spinal twist. Stepping the left foot in front of your hip or outside the right knee. You might also bend the right knee. Place the left hand behind your pelvis, raise your right arm, root down to rise up as you inhale,
And twist to your left as you exhale. Lower your right arm or hook the elbow. On your next exhale, unwind your spine and cross your left shin over the right shin, sitting cross-legged, or stack your knees and ankles with both feet flexed in double pigeon. Root the sitting bones, lengthen your spine, breathe in, and begin to hinge forward from your hips. On your next inhale, slowly rise up, straddle the legs apart, and optional to sit up on a pillow or blanket to help you find ease in lifting the spine. Make sure your knees are pointed up, toes are pointed up, the knees are not pointing forward. Root your sitting bones, lift up through the spine, and then start to hinge forward from your hips. You might have blocks to catch your hands or your forehead. Keep pressing the sitting bones down. So we're trying not to spill the pelvic bowl forward, trying to keep it upright here as we're folding. Inhale, slowly walk your hands towards you to rise. Bring your hands to your outer thighs and bring your feet together at the front of your mat for seated forward fold. Optional to use a strap around the balls of your feet to clasp the big toes, or if you can do that easily, maybe put a block in front of your feet to catch hold of. So ground your sitting bones, rotate the inner thighs slightly towards the floor, separate or you can bring the feet together, that's up to you. Flex your feet and press the instep of your feet forward. And then sit up tall, start to hinge from your hips. Keep the neck long, the shoulders relaxed, the heart slightly lifted. Paschimottanasana. Next, inhale, lead with your chest. Slowly rise up. Please find a comfortable way to rest your body for corpse pose, Shavasana. Lying down, let your feet splay apart, wider than your hips distance. Let the feet flop open naturally, relaxing the soles. Rest your shoulders into the ground, head on the floor or on a folded blanket. Closing your eyes, surrender control of your breathing and allow yourself to be still and aware of what comes up in that stillness. We talked about fear and specifically abhinivesha, which is fear of death, and how that particular fear can keep us from living fully. So leaning into whatever arises as we rest in corpse pose. Listen, feel, observe what's here now. Notice anything that has shifted through your yoga practice today. As you keep your eyes closed, let the breath deepen and ease into small movements like turning the head gently or rubbing the thumbs across the fingertips, wiggling the toes. Graduate gently into larger movements, little by little, easing into a simple stretch, perhaps gathering your knees into your chest. And maybe turning over to your right side, pausing there as you rest your head on your arm. Sense if anything feels different from when you arrived in this practice. And as you're ready, press into the ground, lift your body up into a comfortable seat for 5 minutes to sit in meditation. Place your hands in a mudra that offers you focus and ease. Palms stacked, thumb and index fingers touching. And either close your eyes or steady a soft gaze on one spot just in front of you at eye level. Sitting tall, relaxing the shoulders back and down. Let's begin our 5 minutes. As you keep your eyes closed, if they are, begin to feel your physical body and sense the space that you're in, the room that you're in. And perhaps join your palms at the center of your chest, thinking of one thing that you feel grateful for right now. And remembering your intention that you set for this practice today. Recall to whom or what you dedicated this practice to. And let's close chanting one Om together. Allow a deep breath in. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.